Wasn't meant to live this way, but my walls came down when your love shone through. Now my life will never be the same. You love me too much to let me stay this way. Jesus, there's freedom in your name. You break every chain.
All right, welcome to Warriors Way. Our warrior this week is Sylvia Blythe. Say good morning.
Good morning.
All right. Now, see, if you guys want to check it out, she's with Prism, and that's not prison, but Prism, P-R-I-S-M, prismprojectmichigan.org, if you want to check that out while we're talking. If this is your first time, please go to spiritualwarfareunit.com. If you click on struggling, if you know anyone that needs food or clothes or baby formula or mental health or insurance, please go there and help them out. All those things are free or next to free. And if you're not struggling, we all know somebody who is, so help us, help them, help you. All right. How are we doing this morning?
Good.
All right. So you were from the Prism Project Michigan, and just give people a little overview of what that is.
So Prism Project is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. I founded it in 2019, and we are shining the light on the darkness of sex trafficking so survivors can walk in the light of hope, faith, and love.
Man, that is a mouthful. So out of the light of darkness of sex trafficking, right, for kids, which is, it's amazing that you're doing this. So had to get your story, because what kind of person goes into that? That's the question, right? So where did you grow up at?
I grew up in Ohio.
Ohio. Oh, no, you don't like the Bucks or the Ohio State. You do?
O-H.
Oh, well, it was great seeing you. We're going to, no. Hail to the, all right. So anyways, yeah, that runs deep.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I still like you.
Thank you.
It's
I appreciate that.
Thank you, Jesus. All right. So you were in Ohio, and what part of Ohio? Was it city or country?
It was more of the country, but we were close to Cleveland, like northeast Ohio.
Okay. And so what was that like? Parents, married, divorced?
Yep. So my parents, I'm the youngest of 7 children, all
7?
Biological.
How many brothers?
3 brothers and 3 sisters.
Oh, wow.
We just
so
had
you
one.
were the tiebreaker.
I was the baby. They were good to me.
They were good to you. All right. So you grew up on the littlest, and like, what did your family do? Like, what did your dad do for a living?
So he owned a water softener company.
Okay.
And then my mom, she did a lot of different things, just window sales to, I think just trying to provide food for 7 children.
Right. So growing up with all those siblings, what was like school like? Because, you had all those siblings so I had to imagine like all the teachers knew your family and all that stuff. Right?
Yeah. Like my graduating class was like less than 100. So it was like we had 400 total in the whole high school.
Wow.
And the elementary, middle, and school were all next to each other. So yeah, they knew. I was, I had one sister before me who's, pretty intelligent. So she, I don't know. My brothers
set the bar pretty high.
Yeah.
So their expectation was, we have another smarty.
Well, yeah, just that we weren't. I don't think we were bad kids. So by the time they came down to me, it was like I was easy compared to what they probably had.
Oh, the stuff they pulled off?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
So, like, were you, like, shy in elementary and middle school?
Oh, yes.
Extremely shy?
Extremely shy.
What about high school? Did you do sports or did you do band or anything?
Yep, I actually did all the above. So I played trumpet in the band. I also did volleyball, basketball, softball.
Wow.
I just like to keep
busy?
Busy and
stay out of trouble and like your siblings?
Yeah. I was always like, with friends, I was always the mom, like watching to make sure that they were safe and that they were, taken care of. So
that's just your personality type. You're like a protector kind of personality type. And you've always been that way. That's super.
I have.
Now, is that more like your mom's personality or dad's? Like if you had to pick?
I don't know.
Good question, right?
Yeah,
yeah. I found like the one that you argue with the most is the one you're most like, and so like that's how like pick that personality trait. And it's funny how in a common thing it's just end up being a question I ask all the time.
Yeah.
So all right, so we'll figure out which parent you're like later. In the meantime, so you went to high school, you did all the sports. Grades, were you like did good?
Yeah. Yeah, I think graduated with like a 3 something, and then
Yeah, you got
went
the
to school.
chords. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, what year did you graduate?
1997.
1997, man, you're young. Woo!
What?
All right, so you graduate in 97, and then you go to college, you
I
take some
did.
time off?
Nope. Went straight to college for
Where did you go? Oh,
Kent
no.
State University.
Oh, thank God. Whew. Thank God.
My best friend did go to Ohio State at that time.
But my friends were loyal. I went to Kent. That's great. Well, and your parents trying to put 7 kids through college, I imagine.
Yeah.
Like, you know, boys
They
and
didn't.
girls.
I don't think, now since I look back, I'm not sure anybody graduated. Well, my sister did one of them.
The smart one.
The
Before
smart
you-
one, but she did it down in Florida, so
So that doesn't count because it's not Ohio.
no, it's not true. Like she took a little while to get her degree type
Sure.
thing. So I mean, she's smart, so she can do anything. So she just
Had to decide what
Just-
she wanted to be smart
exactly.
in. I got you. So you went to Kent, and what did you decide to go to school for?
nursing.
So you knew right away?
No, actually, I was like, I don't want to pay for college forever. So like during my first year, I was exploratory, not knowing what I wanted to do. And I'm like, I don't want to pay for something. I don't know what I want to do. So actually I had a conversation with my brother-in-law and my mom. So my mom's on occupational therapy. She went back in life and
Oh, good for
got
her.
her degree in occupational therapy. And then my brother-in-law was a nurse. And so it was just like at that time, nursing kind of had a broad spectrum of things that you could do. Like,
Sure.
I mean, anything from like pediatrics to adults. And so once I got in college and I knew I wanted to, it was always pediatrics, like was my forte. Like I had to do some clinicals with, and elderly actually kind of scared me just because I was like, oh, kids are so resilient. Like you stick them with an IV and they're,
Now, hold on. You can't just say
Sorry.
that. No,
I know.
no, you don't have to apologize. It's just interesting. What was it with the elderly that scared you? Like, that's a statement,
because if
right?
I would have like heard or saw an old grandma cry, it would just kill me. And
You
I'm
know-
not saying that it doesn't hurt me to see a child cry, but I was there to help them. So it was like a different kind of like,
Yeah.
they're going to cry whether I walk into the room or whether I'm going to try to help them. So
And that's my favorite thing about personalities, because I had a friend of mine who was an absolute sweetheart. Her name's Missy. It's actually her birthday today. Happy birthday, Missy. And she's an occupational therapist, and she works with old people. And she's like, look, my job is to make them get there, so they're going to have to go through. But she's the exact opposite of how you are, which is hilarious, right? So, all right, so you went straight through? How many years did you do?
So it was a bachelor. So I end up being 5 years because I ended up having a child in between there.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Are you dating, married?
I am married. We've been
Cool.
together since we were 18.
Really?
Yeah.
Like dating or married?
We dated at 18, got married at 20.
At 20?
Yes.
Wow, congratulations. Now, what's he do? Did you
So-
know each other the whole, like, high school and all that?
No, well, so I met him. We worked at the same restaurant. So he was a cook. I was a waitress. So actually, we got married at 22. My bad. Sorry.
That's what
I was
me and my
thanks.
wife did, too. Same thing. That's
Yeah.
cool.
So we've been together since 18. We worked at the restaurant, and then,
All right, and then, so is he still cook now, or is he retired?
he he does. He does help me cook dinner, and he's great on the grill and everything like that.
That's awesome.
And yes, we are.
And he's going to be super supportive of what you're doing, I imagine, right?
Yeah, he really is. He's now. Back then he actually has 2 degrees. He's architectural drafter, designer.
Wow.
So he does CAD. And then when the market fell in 2009, anyway, he decided he couldn't find a job, and
Right.
then so he went back to school for radiology tech. So he works at Hurley
There you
as a
go.
radiology tech. So
Yeah, because the truth is, doing what we're doing without our significant other would never make it, right? I know without my wife, there's no chance I'd be able to do this stuff. All right, so you're in your early 20s, you're going to school, you have a child, and I got to imagine, so you're mid-degree, and you're having so that stress right there had to be kind of intense, yeah?
oh yeah, yep.
He says, oh, yeah.
Yeah. Actually, he was born July, so I was taking summer classes then. And I just remember, like, waddling in. He came 4 weeks early. I was supposed to be done with school, was not done with school.
Oh, no.
And I had inorganic chemistry, and I had like an art class. And I remember the professor, I said that, I ended up going into labor, so I didn't finish and I couldn't do my exam.
Yeah.
And he
Tell
literally...
me he didn't flunk you.
No, he I walked in and he's like, or I called or emailed and he's like, well, I'm going to need proof.
Wow.
I'm like...
The fact that you've seen me.
I was like this and now I'm like this and you're going to still need a doctor's note that said I had a baby.
Man.
I was...
Here's the thing, in defense of him, it's like, how many people have used that one? Listen, I'm having a baby, so...
Right?
That's so stupid. Oh. All right, so you graduate, and you have your son, and so you're still in Ohio at this point?
I am still in Ohio at this point.
All right, do you guys have your own place?
So we have. Actually, we're living, at this point, when I graduated school, I'm living in a duplex next to my brother and my sister-in-law. Still very close to, and they're actually here in Michigan. That's why it brought us to Michigan.
Outstanding.
But, so yes, we were there, and then we built a house and had our second child, and we moved to Florida.
Florida? Why Florida?
And my other sister lives there, and her husband is an architect. So he employed my husband, who had the architectural degree in CAD. So we had 2 kids. We just kind of need to get out of little Ohio and go see it. And I was down there. And
all right, so what year was that you moved down to? 2005. All right, so in 2005, you moved down to Florida, and you said you built a house?
No, we built a house in Ohio.
Oh, okay.
So we rented it out, and we actually rented it out. We're still renting it out, so we have that. And then we moved to Florida next to my other sister, lived on the same street.
All right, and what were you doing there?
So I was a nurse, and it was cool because in West Palm, I did pediatric ER nursing there. They had separate ERs, and then they actually had a separate trauma unit. So where the helicopters came, or trauma nurses, which was my inspiration. I really wanted to do trauma. So
really, why?
We would literally I don't know.
If I had to pick between trauma and babies, I'm going to go with
Well, it was both. It was kind of funny because it's when a trauma came in and it was a pediatric one, they're like, you got it. Mm-hmm. I'm like, the 80-year-old comes in, you got it.
Nice.
So
was it
works.
The adrenaline rush?
Oh, yeah. I like
Some people love that.
I do like the stabilization, part of nursing. You get on, you get to the thing, and then you have them,
because you're literally making a difference every day, right?
Yeah.
Right,
so we would just wait for the helicopters to land, and it was just the best job ever.
That's cool. And how long did you do that?
For 4 years.
4 years? Yeah. Till 2009. Mm-hmm. And then all Hades broke loose in 2008. Husband lost a job because clearly the whole world broke.
Yes.
And then what happened?
We moved here to Michigan and lived.
All right. So because of family?
Because of family.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you moved here to Flint? Or Grand Blanc or wherever?
Linden is where we are.
Linden?
Yep.
Okay. So you're in Genesee County, and so I'm assuming you found a nursing job here somewhere?
So then I started at Hurley.
Okay, and what was the hubby doing?
Hubby was trying to find a job, and then going back to school, and then he actually did the radiology program through Hurley, and then now works at Hurley.
Very cool. And where are we at with the kids at this point?
We have 2 kids. They're 4 years apart.
Okay.
So we have 2 boys.
Okay.
Yeah.
Boys, mom. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you've moved from Ohio, went to Kent, went to Florida, came to Michigan, and all of this stuff is happening because you have family in different areas. I'm following all this correctly so far?
Yes.
All right. So we got to Michigan. Unfortunately, we're going to have to go to our first break. I told you this goes by quick. If you're not going to spiritualwarfareuNet.com, please like, share, and subscribe. Please look at prismprojectmichigan.org on the break. Sit tight. We'll be right back. About our life application program that we have for churches and nonprofits in the area that are trying to find programming that they can use in case the corona shuts you down and you're not able to get in. You go to spiritualwarfareuNet.com, you click on our episodes, and you can check out our programs for as little as $29.99 a month to make sure that we're still getting the word out to those people that need it. Now, back to the program.
Oh, crap.
All right, welcome back to the Warrior's Way. Our warrior this week is Sylvia Blythe, and she's from prismprojectmi.org. If you haven't checked that out, check that out while we're talking. And she was just giving us the kind of background, where she got and type personality she had and how she got to Michigan. That was a nice little jaunt. So at this point, you're at, what are you, in your late 20s, early 30s?
Yes, I was, let's say.
And you came to Michigan?
Yep. So late 20s.
All right, so in your late 20s, husband's got so real solid family life, and it seems like your family is like the center for you guys.
Yeah.
Would that be accurate? Okay.
Yeah.
So not having a big family, it's completely opposite for me. So it's kind of interesting to see how that dynamic works, right?
Yeah.
So, all right, so you got 2 boys. You're working at Hurley, and your husband ended up working at Hurley. And then what happens? Like, how did we get from there to where we're going? What was the next step?
Okay. So while I was working in the ER, when we got to Michigan, we started attending the Freedom Center, which is the church that my brother was going to, and we still attend it today. And just like kind of how God led me through is like, to be honest, you can't do the ER forever.
Yeah.
So it was just like, there's something more, there's something I need to do. While I was in the ER, we did have some, we had a lot of patients come in for sexual assault, and nobody really knew how to take care of them. And it was like, what
would people do back then? Was there a protocol at all that they said?
So there was a protocol, but we weren't trained on it.
Okay.
It was pretty much to kind of look to make sure that they're okay, and like to be able to collect forensic evidence. And so it's like, when I had to do it, I was like, I didn't want to be the reason why somebody lost their case because I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
So I decided to become a sexual assault nurse examiner, which I went through a 40-hour dietetic class, and then did some hands-on experience. So during that time, I also then I worked in the ER for 4 years, and then moved over to outpatient pediatric gastro.
Okay, before we go any further, was there like one of these that you went in and something, and you're like, this is it, like this is why I want to go do this training, or is it something that you saw that needed a fix?
Probably something that I saw and needed to fix, and I didn't want to be a reason for them to go through more
So
trauma.
like, you're going through this stuff and going, hey guys, we should have more process, and then you looked in the process and went, man, I want to do this.
Yeah, I wanted to understand the process.
Yeah. So you didn't screw it up, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I was uncomfortable. If I don't know how to do something, I need to figure it out. So I'm comfortable doing it.
All right, so you get comfortable doing something. And how long did that whole process take? Like a year less, 6 months less?
It was just,
Pretty quick.
Yeah.
All right, so you do that. So what when you get this training, what does the hospital do with you? Like, what happens?
So they, like, when they have a sexual assault come in, then we would be, we're called SANE nurses, and then we would go in.
Wait, you're called SANE?
Yeah, SANE, sexual assault nurse examiner. Yeah,
wow.
It's called SANE nurse.
That's ironically interesting.
Yeah. Right. So, I mean, it's not a full-time job, because it's like you would only get called in when you needed it. So that was kind of like what I did on the side. They would call me in. I would go in and examine the patient, talk to the patient, just treat them with dignity and respect, and, just try to help them through that.
And how long
trauma that they were going
How long
through.
was that? Was that just for that visit, and then they went on to the next thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like, if you had to guess how many of those you had to deal with, was it like a weekly, monthly, yearly? Like, what kind of numbers are you talking about here?
I mean, it's just because we have so many nurses, right? So, I mean, a weekly or monthly, monthly thing.
Okay.
Now it's not the case, but back then, 10 years ago. So
yeah. All right. So you're doing that, and then what transpires after you start doing this? Like, how do we get to where you're going?
Okay. So another part of my journey is that I've always been passionate about missions. So on my professional life, I was a nurse, but then I started going on missions trips, and then I just realized, like.
Wait, hold on. Give us an example of a mission trip.
Okay, so a good friend asked, like, hey, you should be our nurse on our missions trip, you know what I mean, with the youth.
Yeah, yeah.
So we went down to Mexico. So I've been to Mexico.
What were you there to do?
So we were actually, funny story. So I was a nurse, and what was handed to me was a suitcase full of medicine, and was like, here, go help them. And I was like, So we went in these tiny little villages. The youth would interact with their kids too.
Yeah.
I was there to help them. Like they would come in with a chief complaint, and I would be like, most likely a lot of it was probably dehydration that these.
So, like, getting on my mental picture, just so I have this, like, I'm looking at, like, dirt huts.
Yes.
And a line of people.
Yes.
And everybody has something wrong.
Yes.
And you're just in there trying to figure that out. Okay. All right.
Yes.
So I got that right. All right. So how many people, like, would you see? I'm assuming you do that all day then.
Yeah, we did. And I had a translator.
Wow.
And
how many people would you see?
I mean.
I got to think hundreds. But
No, I mean, like, they were little. They was just the people in the village. So 30 or 40.
Okay.
And it would just, yeah.
All kinds of different things.
Yeah.
All right. And so how long did you do that?
I mean, we just went on a missions trip for
A couple of weeks?
a week.
All right. So you get done doing the missions trip and you said that this is you like doing this stuff.
I did. So
Okay.
I've been on several since then.
Okay.
I've been to Mexico twice, Haiti twice,
Ooh.
Japan, Germany, El Salvador. And so it was over a course of obviously some years.
Yeah.
So my husband was great. He would take care of the kids. I'd go on a missions trip and it just refueled me. So leading to that, after one of the missions trips, we have an organization called Claire's Hope that's at Freedom Center, and they help with foster and adoptive children because of her story and how she adopted a child named Clara. And her story is amazing. When I came back from one of those missions trips, we get newsletters of like children who need to be adopted. And there was
Sure.
an email that said that 7 children, Hispanic children, needed to be adopted. And I just started crying, just literally started crying. I'm not a crier.
Wow.
This was when I actually came back from Haiti. It was right around the time of Thanksgiving because my family, we always get together for Thanksgiving. And I couldn't fathom the idea of what it would feel like not to be with my siblings I'm like, how does 7? And I'm like thinking in my head, nobody's going to adopt 7 children.
Yeah.
Like they're going to be split up. And so my heart broke. And that led us to the process of like over the next year of just, trying to explain it to my husband and just breaking down all the time.
Listen, babe.
Yeah.
Jesus said that I gotta adopt 7 people. If my wife would have come to me, I'm like, listen, we're gonna go see the mental health provider. I love you.
Yes. Yes. I wish my husband was here right now because
dude, I have my wife's face like in my mind right now. Just oh God, how did that? What happened?
He is a trooper, but he,
Wait a minute, you can't just say he's a trooper.
I don't know.
This poor man. I'm starting to like this guy already. Like, what a great guy. He must love you
because he knows my heart. And that's what it was awesome. Like, he's like, I know your heart, but we literally. So I'm like going to the social worker at Claire's Hope. I'm like, how do we adopt 7? How do we do this? She's like, whoa.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen that easy.
Right.
So it was like steps, like you have to go through foster, or adoptive.
The process.
The process,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it was probably a good year or two, of just
because they got a background your whole life.
Well, I mean, we didn't even start the process. It was a couple years to even wrap our heads around it. Like,
wow.
what is God telling us to do?
Yeah.
God put on my heart that I was going to adopt siblings. That was just what it was.
Okay.
So when we decided, there was just a definitive moment. I remember, and I'm like, it's time. And Jeremiah's like, that's my husband. He's like, okay. So we started the process.
Yeah.
Then it came to us like, you should probably do fostering and adopting, so you can get them out from the get-go. So Jeremiah was more comfortable with fostering.
Right.
And I knew the plan was adoption. So, it's, I love him so much. He's like, I'm being obedient to your obedience. And that's really what he has been holding on to. Like, the vision didn't come to him, but he is supported 100%.
Right, which is awesome, by the way, because most people would be like, "You do what?" Like I'm laughing for him because, and I love how you're doing this, but I'm like, if I said that to my wife, 2 years just to explain it would probably be necessary to calm the fire. How are we going to pay for this, and what about the bills, and blah, blah, right, and all of that. And what year did this happen?
So 2017.
Oh, so. All right, so he's in radiology and he's doing this. Okay, so at least we were past. I was like, because if you did it in 2010, that man must have the patience of.
Yeah, well, he had to get through school and get through his things, and it's like he's like, you just never want to sit still. I figured it out. Every time something gets calm, you got to come and explode it. And I was like, but I would literally had no. I'm like, I was crying. Like it didn't matter what it was. It was like he's just. Over the, I don't know. It was just
and
like,
I'm the same way.
I was emotional.
Yeah, I don't like sitting still and doing nothing. I feel like I'm wasting my time, right? And it's like I can't do. I have to do something. As long as I'm doing something, I'm fine. If I'm sitting here, I'm going nuts. So I hear you, but I just being married, I understand that whole day. And that poor man, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And then you're like, yeah, it's definitely adoption the whole time. You're like, we're going with foster, but that's because we're going to adoption.
Yeah.
All right. So how many did you get?
So actually, we got our license, and literally that week they already called us and said that we had 2 twin boys that were already in our school district.
Oh wow!
That they thought it was going to be an adoptive case, and the current foster parents weren't planning to adopt, so they wanted to put them with an adoptive home.
Sure.
So they came to us in May.
And how old were they?
They were just turned 7.
Okay.
So I have, 2 twin boys that are complete opposites, complete different personalities, and just full of energy.
So you love it.
So mind you, right now, at this point, I had an 18-year-old and a 14-year-old.
Yeah.
My 14-year-old literally is just chill like my husband. So he's just like, I don't think I've had to say no to him. I don't think, he just has been a delight from birth. Like he just is
a delight from birth. Now
Yes.
that is not a sentence many parents get to say. Good for you.
Like truly. And so I never had to say no.
So
And
what
then-
did he say about having? I mean, 14.
So we talked to our children about it.
Yeah.
Like I mean, my oldest, he was kind of like on his journey out, right? So
Right.
we're
He's like,
we want to make
whatever.
sure we all are on the same page. How do you feel? And Ian at the time, he's just like, I would like to see, we could have some younger siblings,
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's,
So you get him in there, and literally the week you get your license, you have these kids.
yeah. And
Okay. So, and this is what year again?
2017.
All right. So this is 2017. And how was that process of getting them in there?
It's just such an
massive
adjustment.
adjustment, right?
So this is why this journey is so important, because during that process, it's not an easy. You're up on so many emotional roller coasters. At this time, mom is still involved. We have to take them to weekly visits. They come back with, some behaviors, which is again with trauma related, and and so it was like for 2 years, it was taking them weekly. Sometimes, show, sometimes not. I mean, just
Right.
a whole roller coaster. Am I staying
Yep.
on that going? At one point, a family member was going to take them and move. So this was I think probably a year and a half into it. We literally were at the court date and that we were supposed to hand him off. And he decided he wasn't able to do it.
Wow.
So then we were luckily able to have them because we had all their stuff packed up and ready to go.
Wow.
After a year and a half.
This is a perfect spot. We got to take another break.
Okay.
Please go to spiritualwarfareunit.com. This is just getting interesting. Sit tight. We'll be right back.
Okay. I hope I can.
Teachings that Isaac has been bringing to us, as this is all based from Proverbs.
I like it because it's simple, and it doesn't matter who you are. It's very easy to understand and apply to your life.
It points out, my bad parts, and but it's showing me how to do the good parts, and I'm trying to apply that and make a better life for myself because I'm tired of where I've been.
It's impacted a lot of the guys as they continue to talk and ask questions after the meetings, as they speak to one another regarding the meeting and the messages and the topics that are being brought up, which are down-to-earth topics of situations and things that we live with on a day-to-day basis.
He takes the Bible and he breaks it down into simple terms and where you can understand. And like I said before, sometimes a lot of churches, even the Salvation Army, sometimes we start using these big words that people don't understand, like even saying someone got saved. Well, what does that mean? What does it mean when you say someone got saved? and it's accepting Jesus into your heart. So it's like words like that we use that people don't understand.
It's just very interesting how he points out, the different things of, the sin part, and then he comes back with the, how to make it better, and he just points it out. It's there. I didn't know all this stuff was in there, but now that he's pointing it out, it's like, wow, I guess if you really dig into the Bible, you find these things.
This is a daily moral standards that we can live by, that the teachings are coming from. And honestly, we can take verse by verse as what he's done, and pretty much he's done the hard work for us, and now laying it out so that we have an easier understanding.
There's some people who don't like to be in Bible classes, but this one seems to get their attention.
All right, welcome back to the Warrior's Way. Our warrior this week is Sylvia Blythe from prismprojectmi.org, and we were just getting into this crazy moment where the young boys you had adopted were going to be passed off to a family member, moved on, and then it just didn't happen. Do you know why it didn't happen?
Yeah, he just he was a single gentleman, and he just trying to
take the responsibility.
Responsibility was too much. And
all right, so you're in 2017. So you bring the kids home after they thought they were leaving. God, that must have been emotionally really tough, right? Because then you got to bring back together the family and the nucleus and try to trust and all that kind of stuff was probably intense, right? Wow. All right, so you're doing this. What happens? What happens after that?
So we go through the court trial. At this point, they are trying to terminate mom's rights and dad's. Dad, unfortunately, didn't know them since he kind of went to jail when he was when they were 6 months old, so they had no idea who he was.
Sure,
but yet they still had to make contact with them weekly with telephone calls. So it was just a lot of emotional roller coaster. It was a 6-month trial for termination. That whole time, they didn't know if they were staying. They were going back with mom. They didn't know what the plan was. So they were just in an unsteady.
So your heart's breaking while their heart's breaking while they're going
for 6 months. Yeah,
for 6 months,
for solid months, and trying to get them to go to school.
So it's like an open wound for 6 months in a row. Gosh.
So
what happened?
The termination trial did come, and rights were terminated.
Okay.
So part of their story is they have an older brother. Mm-hmm. Older brother was just a year older, was able to go back with mom. The courts found it that they needed to stay with us because they were thriving. They were doing school. They, one twin felt one way, one twin felt the other way. Sure. But they, the one could go either way. Mm-hmm. So it was the best, so rights were terminated. And so we were starting the process of adoption. Mm-hmm. Mom ended up filing to it went all the way up to the Supreme Court.
Wow. So, how long did all that take?
Another 2 years. So
till 2019.
So we were finally able to adopt them.
Good Lord.
June.
Good for your perseverance at that point. Wow. That's tough.
June 9th, 2019.
It just feels like there's no winners in that, It's crazy.
Yeah.
Man. All right. So you get through that. You go all the way to the Supreme Court. Oh my gosh. I'm just dealing with the stress of this. And then what happens after that?
So during this time, because they're not officially adopted yet, I went on a missions trip in early 2019. And actually, so let me just back up real quick. I went to a seminar, and I heard for my sane nursing, it was about courtroom testimony, and I heard a survivor speak. Mm-hmm. So once again, I'm hearing her story of how she was brutally attacked, left for dead, multiple people. Tears are streaming down her face.
Wow.
She has to tell her story over and over. And I'm just thinking, if you can sit here and tell your story, I need to do something. Like, it should not be happening.
Right.
So that was probably in November of 2018. Mm-hmm. And then just praying, asking God what that meant. Because once again, I'm broken. And I'm like...
And your last decision got you all the way to the Supreme Court. Oh, man. Yeah. All right, so here you are, broken.
And so then just thinking and praying about it, and after our missions trip, it's just like kind of the Prism project came to...
you can't just... It came to fruition. How?
So, just starting with the name, just praying, what am I supposed to do? So...
Did it happen because of the trip?
no. I mean, like, they just helped me. Like, God kind of spoke to me while I was on my missions trip.
All right,
Of like,
so-
what I'm supposed to do about all this
All right.
hurt in the world with
Yeah.
trafficking and understanding. And then just the more I learned about trafficking, the more I knew I had to do something about trafficking.
Right.
So, like, what I learned during this process was that there's like 300,000 children at risk for being trafficked each year, that there's only like 600 beds available in the whole United States to properly care for them, that the biggest one is actually I actually listened to a podcast from OUR, and they were saying that, white American men are the biggest consumers. So it was happening right here in our own country. And I'm just literally thinking, I'm like, this can't be happening. Like, it's a multi-million-dollar business that is destroying children's lives and people's lives, and it's all because of money and power.
Right.
And the injustice of this at all, like, infuriates me to a point where I was like, I just need to do something. God, what do you want me to
Right.
do with this?
So how did you get to name then? Now that we got that,
'Kay.
how did we get to name?
So it just kind of came to me. So Prism, like the necklace I'm wearing, you see it's like shattered pieces of glass. When it comes together, like God has a way of shining light on the broken pieces of glass and making it a rainbow.
Cool. Okay.
So that's like shattered people. Like, the identity that they had inside them was stamped out by
Right.
somebody else.
Right.
And that can't happen. So we need to know, like, we need to let God shine through them. So that led me to the name of Prism, Prism Project, and then shining the light on the darkness of sex trafficking, so survivors can walk in the light of
In the light.
hope, faith, and life.
Nice.
Yes.
All right. So you come back from this trip, you make this decision, and then so in 2019, you make this project, and so where do you partner? Like, how do you make this thing work?
So
What do you
I had
do?
to do a lot of research. And then I met through my niece, a friend, her friend named Allison. She had a passion for human trafficking. She actually did outreach ministry on the streets.
Wow.
So we and her met, and then my niece was like, hey, she's doing this. And then she's like, oh, so we started talking. So really, Allison and I just kind of like, like, where would we start kind of thing. Like, so the next step I did is like found out how to become a 501c3.
Right.
And so
And that's its own nightmare.
yes. So we started, just kind of got a Facebook page. We're just starting. I knew that prevention and education was needed on the forefront, because that education is power. Like, if you can learn how to, because trafficking is all based off of manipulation. And if you know how to look out for signs or watch for this type of manipulation,
Right.
that you can keep yourself safe.
So give our viewers like a quick overview of like what type of information you're talking about, so people can kind of like get a little bit of information.
Right. So, unfortunately, human trafficking is based off of vulnerability. So, any vulnerability, children are the most vulnerable because we're under they're under the umbrella of adults. So it happens when a child or, is like, let's say home life is awful and their, parents are on drugs, or, that they're insecure and they just want to feel loved and they're not getting that at home. I mean, it can happen, any vulnerability, it can happen. So a lot of these traffickers kind of either befriend them. A lot of people think that you're just taken off the street, but actually that's only like 3% of them are actually abducted. The rest are actually sold by their family or by somebody they know.
Wait a minute. In America,
Yes.
people are selling their kids,
Yes, sir.
and you said that's the most accurate one?
Yep. So the other 90, literally they'll know they're traffickers. So let's just give you a hypothetical.
Please. Good Lord.
Mom and dad, they're looking for the next fix. It's based off of survival. They need food, shelter, their next fix. What people are looking for, hey, I need that next fix. So to mom and dad, it's drugs. And the way that they get their money is to be able to say, hey, you can spend an hour with my child.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. This is what makes what you're doing so great, because that's an actual problem, right? And most people, they would say, oh, that doesn't happen here. But that's, for you to explain to us, that is how it normally works.
Yes. And
The person, from the time they're a child, the person that's supposed to protect them is using them for something in their own advantage. And that
Yes.
just breaks my heart. This is what makes what you do so amazing. So you do training, right?
Yes.
And so you'll go to churches, schools, businesses, whoever wants to do training. And if someone wants that training, is watching, it's like, man, I want to know how to do that. Where would they go to like sign up for that?
I mean, you can sign up on our website if they want, educational training.
Educational training
Yep.
at prismprojectmi.org.
Correct.
And they can go on there. And is there a cost
the
to that?
email.
Yeah.
No, because I think education should be free,
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree.
like the awareness, like this is what we want. We just want people to understand that how it happens and how easily it happens, because how many kids today are stuck in a place of vulnerability? I mean, especially during COVID, this was a whole nother ball game. Now everybody's online. So the online enticement has gone up like 300%.
Wow.
Just like kids are sitting in front of their screens, they're actually perpetrating them through just like boys. They like to play Fortnite. My children do not, but you can't play the game unless you're online.
Right.
So you have people who will pretend to be your friend, buy you skins, they call them, which is outfits. So as they're buying, stuff for them, they befriend them and they're like, hey, since I just bought you these skins, why don't you send me a picture of yourself? So the kid's like, okay,
Yeah.
I'll send you a picture of myself. Then it turns to, let's send me a picture without your clothes on. Then it turns into, send me a picture of you doing, something.
Yeah.
And if you don't, I'm going to show this, picture to your mom.
Right. And then they got him.
So then they got him. Not only did they got him, this was an actual story, in a case that in Flint, they can reach their friends too.
Wow.
So the little boy actually ended up going to, when he told his mom when the friend had asked him to do something with his brother. That's when the boy finally told his mom. So.
Wow, man! And what was the time frame from? Do you know, from the time they started talking to him to, was that very quick?
It's pretty quick. It just is, and that's why they say that you can. A trafficker can pick up on any vulnerability. So if you're just going to pay attention and give them love and, attention and what they want, they're going to start trusting you.
Right, because you gave me this thing that I wanted.
But now they want something in return, and that's how the whole process works. Now you owe me something.
And I just want to get these numbers right real quick. You said there's 600 beds and 300,000
children at risk, for being trafficked.
On that, we got to take a break.
Okay.
Please go to prismprojectmi.org to check out what they're doing. Like, share, and subscribe on Spiritual Warfare Unit. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. I'm here with Chad. He's here with our drug dog, Hans, and he's been a big hit at the Depson Dogs. Tell everybody a little bit about Hans for us.
Hans is the man. Hans loves to find drugs. We take Hans and we search different rehab facilities, schools. We actually got Hans to serve the public. So, anybody in the public sector that wants any type of search, if you send a kid to rehab, and you want your house swept before you come home, feel free to give us a call. Schools, they're great deterrent as well.
I'm here with the regional chaplain down Genesee County. Kenny is here. They do great work inside the jail. Can you tell us a little bit about the programs that you guys have inside the jail?
Yeah, we have an opportunity that the sheriff allows us to come into the jail as guests to share the gospel of Jesus Christ with each one of the inmates that want to hear that. We have programs within inside the jail that we have Bible studies, we have people that come in and do one-on-ones as the inmates request it, but all of that's an opportunity to give them a choice at a different life than with the choices that they've been made to get here.
Outstanding, and they're one of our partners in the community to help people who are one of the people that help win, help us, help you, help those people around. I'm here with AJ. He's one of the committee members from Back to the Bricks. How do you think it's going today, bud?
Good. Yeah, everybody's here. Everybody seems happy, and we're doing it up in Flint just right.
Yeah, it's been a really good time. We're right by the jail, hanging out with some very cool cars. And right to our left is their son was a deputy who had passed away, and so what they do is they have his car come out and they show it off at the different shows. We're sitting down here with UCAN and Reach the Forgotten, Spiritual Warfare Unit, and Depson Dogs, and Back to the Bricks, of course, with the cars, because you guys are the cool kids.
We try.
You do it good. All right, we'll be around.
All right, welcome back to our final.
You have a
session.
nonprofit
We're
in your
Sylvia
area
Blythe
that's
from prismprojectmi.org, and we were just getting into the things that she does with sex trafficking and helping with children. So you do the training, and then we got into like one of the biggest things that you do is what? Housing, correct?
Yeah, so the second portion was that I was learning through this process that there's nowhere. Once these children get rescued out of trafficking, there's nowhere for them to go.
So what do they do right now?
So right now they either go back with, if say they get rescued out, they either go back with family if they didn't traffic them, or they go into the foster care system, or they run away. And then they're, the sad reality is it's like, 1 out of 7 runaways get picked up by a trafficker within a matter of 24 hours or 48 hours. That's what it is.
All right, so you decide a way to help this is to create housing.
Yes, and I wanted to create a house that was like a home. So being a foster parent, through that journey, I realized what kids really need is love and consistency. So I wanted to provide an environment that was a home that they can get their medical, their education, their therapy, their life skills, and spiritual care all in one place for anywhere from 6 months to 2 years, depending on their plan of care. So they have the tools and the restoration services to be able to go back into society and be able to thrive in life.
Right, succeed. Yeah.
Right? So then at that point, that if they're meant to, go be adopted, then you're adopted. If they're meant to go back home, you're meant to go back home. But giving them that tool, because right now they're being trafficked and they still go to school. It's like they're just expected to just keep going. And then the pitfalls of like, how are you sure they're getting their therapy? And, how do you know they're not going to run into their trafficker? So the next step was I needed to provide a safe house.
All right, so before you do this, I have to ask this question. Where was your husband on board with this?
I think he's learned over the years, just let her fly.
Just get out of the way?
He is so supportive on the back half, but he has never, he's just like, you're on a mission, girl. Like, just
do your thing.
Do your thing. I got your back.
Okay, so that's awesome. Because my wife's kind of the same way. I'm like, once I make a decision about something, and I'll sit there and like when I get hard-headed about it, I'm like, honey, no is not one of the answers, so that's off the table. The question is how do we do this process? And she goes just like this. She's like, okay, honey, what do you? And then we go through the process. So I'm feeling that for your husband. I had to get that in there. All right, so your process, and you said you have a house. Like, what's all working there?
That's the gut story behind that. So I just started in June 2019. I happened to be looking at houses online. It came across this house. This is in, I want to say, probably September. So just 3 months. When I was like, Jeremiah, we got to go look at this house. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I'm telling you, we have to go look at this house. This house was way over anything that we could even fathom or afford. I just know we need to go to this house.
Wow.
So he's like, all right, so we go to this house. Mind you, I have $200 in the nonprofit at this point. $200. This house, I'm telling you, is over $1 million.
Wow.
So we go in this house, and as soon as we pull on the property, it's on over 100 acres here in Genesee County. We're not going to tell you the address, because it's a safe house.
Yeah.
But so this was in 2019. I go and see this house, and I'm like, this is supposed to be for the Prism Project. Like, I knew it laid on me. And Jeremiah's like, okay, I'm like, I'm telling you, God's going to give me the money. God's going to do it. Like, okay, honey. Yeah. Okay. So my whole family was like that. Okay.
I'm sure Jeremiah was like, Jesus, take the wheel.
Right?
All right. So
we fast forward. Actually, it was almost a year. Like, I got in touch with Voices for Children. So that's the local child advocacy center that I'm working with. And she had some people that were interested in helping out. And so we kind of got connected, and they actually, were investors that were like, okay, we'll purchase the house, for you. So that's a year later. So this house has still been on the market. Nobody saw it. And then the crazy market thing happened. Right. Then the owners remembered me from the year prior, and they're like, they had 7 other offers on the table, even a cash offer. And they knew that I wanted to do something with children. Yeah. And so they let them buy it, knowing that I was going to do something with their property.
So they took a smaller offer just so they knew that the property is going to be used to help kids. Man, so there's still good people in the world. Look at
Yeah.
that. That's unbelievable.
Yeah. So then,
So now you're crazy until it works, and then you're a genius, right?
right? Which that whole process is enough in itself, but then we have to renovate the house. So,
And how much renovation was necessary? Oh, look at your face.
so I mean, the house is gorgeous, but
Sure.
we wanted 6 bedrooms because we're having 6 girls. I wanted them to have their individual bedrooms, bathrooms, like brand new. It was anyway.
Yeah.
So we had to do renovations. So,
Wait. You said 6 bathrooms?
well, we have actually there's 5, but we remodeled 3
But
new
that's got to be
bathrooms.
like the best woman selling point of that.
right.
You don't have to share. Okay.
So a lot of work had to be done because
Yeah.
we kind of renovated portion of it to make this work. So
Sure.
starting in January, we got the house, then we have to figure out the process of what this looks like to make it up to code for a child caring institution.
Sure.
So for licensing.
Yeah.
So I had to put in a fire suppression system, fire alarm system, security system, like the whole 9 yards. And by the grace of God and people out there, we had enough money to renovate that whole place.
Wow.
So
How long did that take?
so I started in January, and then I apparently became a contractor because, we had a contractor, but, I was the one that daily set up. Like we had people donating their time, people, all this. And it was amazing, and just hours that were poured into it. And just, it was definitely a roller coaster because then we finished in June, actually, yeah. And then we had to have fire inspection, then we had to change some more things. And then, and now, after the whole battle of doing all that, we're in our final stages of licensing. So I honestly thought we were going to open in June. But because, we needed to make some corrections with the fire and all that, everything's been done. The license lady, she's been out twice. We've done our final. We submitted all our paper, and we're just waiting.
Yeah. Do you have like a time frame of when they're going to get back to you or anything?
Yeah. So she said we should have our license, mid to end September.
So we're almost there.
We are.
Outstanding. So once this happens, like, what's your process of like picking who gets what or whatever?
So we have a referral process. So we'll have a full-time social worker. We have a program manager. Like educator. So we'll do in-house school. So we have a referral. They will send us a referral. We do have connections with the Safe House Project, which is a national organization that they help other safe houses get up and running, but they're going to be becoming a placement agency.
Okay.
And so they've already reached out to me like, hey, you open? We got some girls waiting.
Right.
Camp, but we'll have a referral process. We'll have our team look over to see if they're a good fit. We'll interview the child to make sure they, at some level, want to be there.
Yeah. So here's a question. Like, this sounds like it's going to up and run, and it sounds like you got more kids in space. So, like, what's the process of duplicating this process and having have you thought that far? Or you're just getting this one here and you're like, this is enough, Isaac, and then you're not trying to kill your husband with another heart attack.
No, I definitely have plans because we're on so many acres.
Yeah.
My eventual plan. So it's recommended that only 6 children are in one home because you get more children than that, it's going to be it's too much trauma, right? So we are going to place multiple cabins on the property.
I got you.
To house more, and then hopefully be able to do boys too.
So you can do like a community.
Yeah, a big old campground is how I think. I mean, it has a large pond. It has hundreds of acres. We're gonna have animals. You have, just
like a farm kind
yes. Big campground.
So you can do
teach
like
them
a
garden and
so
teach them.
Working farm where they can learn how to farm and cook and make their own things from scratch. Because a lot of kids don't have any idea how to do any of that stuff.
Yeah, life skills and have their education there, and then just
so all of their stuff will be on campus.
Yeah.
So what about school? Would that be there too?
Yep. So we'll have online school, right? So and then we'll have field trips and we'll go out and do some, just depending on their plan of care, right? So we'll take them. I want to teach them how to swim, pool and.
What will be the
age
length of stay?
6 months to 2 years, and the ages are 12 to 17 years old.
Okay, and explain why it would be 6 months to 2 years.
6 months to 2 years. So it just depends where they're at in their plan of care. Like if they need more help, like let's say a 17-year-old, she's pretty much maybe she only needs 6 months, but that's going to be determined by her therapist, like the whole
Right.
care team.
So so just so I have an understanding, so like if someone's 12 and the process you're talking about is them getting adopted or placed?
Yeah, so whatever their plan is. So you're 12 years old, you come out at 14, maybe the next step was that you will go with a foster family, but we'll be able to kind of watch them for a year afterwards,
Okay.
make sure that they...
Because like my thought was, well, what happens if they don't have a foster family or something? Then what? Does it start over, or do they
No, I mean, it's more of, if you think about it as a restorative services, I would like to make transit for those 17-year-olds, transition homes to be
Yeah.
able to step out. Because when they're 18, there's really nothing for them. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
they get kicked out on their own or whatever. So
Yeah.
that's why we're going to be closely working with them and see, okay, what is the best next step for her?
Right.
Okay, let's go. Let's see what's out there. Like, I mean, it should be adoption, fostering, going back home.
Yeah,
like-
because I was like, can they do like online college if they decide to stay and enroll or something? Is that? But it's a whole other problem because you got underage and
Right.
overage and that whole juvie thing's it's its own mess beyond
Right.
what you're talking about. Well, because what you're doing, like if I was to ask you how many groups do you think do what you do? Does
we're
it
going to
even
be
exist?
we're going
Like,
to no,
you're
not for
inventing
what
it?
I'm doing.
You're like inventing it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pioneering it. Yep. For Michigan. I actually went outside. I did my mentorship from like Wellspring in Florida. Georgia. And then, so there's a couple other that I modeled my thing off, but Michigan doesn't have anything like what I'm doing.
So this is something that if someone else wanted to do it, you could be like, yeah, because there's more of a need than there is help.
Oh, yeah.
And you could take it. So if this hits, and as a parent, I don't know how this doesn't hit you, because like I said, my as a dad and having daughters, like my click button just goes off the radar when it goes to that kind of stuff, and knowing that kids grow up in an environment where they don't have that protection, or they don't have the parents that take care of them and rather exploit them for their own uses and benefits. And the fact that you told me that, like I forgot that was the case, but the fact that the parents are the ones that the perpetrators of this, I mean, that's where drug rehabilitation and UCAN and therapy and all that comes into play too, because sex trafficking and drugs is like one for the other. It's
Yes.
hand and fist, and you can't get one without the other, basically. It's unbelievable. And that's what makes what you guys are doing great. I hope one day I get to meet Jeremiah. He just seems like an excellent human being. Is there anything else that you want to let people know on your website or information that you have, or do you have like upcoming events? Are you doing like raising money for anything?
Yeah, we actually just had our event. It's called Free to Dream. We do that yearly. It's a Free to Dream festival.
What's that?
So that was a fundraiser. Pretty much like I wanted youth to do the entertainment to show what youth can do when they're free to dream.
Okay.
Unlike children who have been trafficked get robbed of. So we had bounce houses and, we had youth perform and we had games and, oh my gosh, the food trucks, the, Kona Ice, for kids just to enjoy themselves.
Like a big old carnival, but
Yes.
teenagers are running
Yes.
it. Huh. And you said you do that every year?
Yeah.
Okay, so, and if someone's hearing this and like, man, I love what you're doing, they can just go to your website if they want to donate?
Yep, the donate buttons, right? You can donate by PayPal or Give Lively, and
All right. And do you do anything with volunteers, like someone wants to volunteer time or anything?
yeah, not until we get the girls in, and then it's going to be a process. But right now, the greatest need is literally prayer. Prayer that we get the house open soon, because right now finances are dwindling quickly because we've been paying rent
Sure.
since January. We've been paying for salaries to get it up and running. I have my staff in place ready to go as soon as they tell us we can open the doors. So yeah, right now it's. Unfortunately, which I don't enjoy, but it's
Oh, yeah,
it's
there's
money
nothing
right
worse.
now. We got a lot of the other stuff donated,
Yeah.
we got the furniture, it's all furnished. We are ready to go. We still need a security gate, but that's another thing, another big ticket item.
Yeah.
But
Right,
just
always
wanna make
something, right?
Yeah.
Well, I told you this to go by fast.
Yeah.
I told you. That was an absolutely spectacular story. Thank you so much for coming on. I know you're a little nervous. You did amazing. So last shot, guys. If you go to Prism Project mi.org. Support what they're doing. Or if you know anybody that needs to know this information, just like and share this podcast over to other people. This is your last shot to go to spiritualwarfareunit.com. Check out our life application class. See what they're doing. Thank you so much for stopping in, and we will see you next week. Do you have a nonprofit in your area that's doing a lot of work that people should know about? Feel free to contact Spiritual Warfare Unit at 810-715-9319, and we would love to have them on to see what good they're doing in the community and find out their story. Thank you so much.
Spent so much time believing the lies. I knew I wasn't meant to live this way, but my walls came down when your love shone through. Now my life will never be the same. You love me too much to let me stay this way.